Shalom, shalom to the 144,000, the elect. Before I get started, let me give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Yokahah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to the brothers that are preaching the truth in the four winds of the earth. May Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, have mercy upon you. Can Esau create mass hysteria, control the weather, create incidents to where there are food shortages, shortage of water, and the things that are needed for the necessities of the day in your daily life? Can Esau Edom manipulate those things and give what? This is Revelation 12 and verse 12. Therefore ye rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell therein, dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he has but a short time. What does that mean? That means that the devil of the earth, right? The devil of the earth is Esau Edom, the so-called white man. And I'm going to show and give examples of that Esau Edom can indeed control weather. And he's just as he's controlling the weather, he's controlling your overall living conditions, your homes, your taxes, you name it. He's manipulating all these things. But who is he doing it for? For Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua. That's what he's doing it for. All right? So, listen up. This is Marjorie. Marjorie gets mocked. And why are they mocking Marjorie? Marjorie Green gets mocked for claiming they control the weather. So let's hear out.
They can control the weather. It's ridiculous. For anyone to lie. United States, Hurricane Helene weighed in on the deadly hurricane that devastated many areas of the southern United States, Hurricane Helene. After news came out that the death toll from the storm had risen to over 200 people, Green decided to go full conspiracy theorist, writing on X, quote, "Yes, they can control the weather. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say it can't be done." Wait a minute, what? wait. You think, like, what, President Joe Biden created the hurricane and then directed it at Georgia? Is that what you think? Listen here, Jack. I'm gonna level your town. That'll teach you for calling me senile. What? No, that's insanity. Total insanity. Marjorie Green, you idiot. Not very smart. Now, funny enough, these are the same people who claim that climate change can't be real because humans cannot change the climate, but then are saying, but they have this magic weather machine that creates horrible storms that kill people. Then, by the way, we're dropping on red states. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. The people that are most impacted by the storms are generally poor people and plenty of minorities. Poor people, minorities, tend to generally vote for Democrats. Not in every case, but, a lot of cases. So even if the government had weather weapons, right, assume for a moment that this is true, then why would the government be dropping weather weapons on their own voters? Doesn't make any sense. The whole thing makes no sense whatsoever and just makes me think, stupid. Okay, that you're stupid. Lastly, though, the government, if they did have the weather weapons, then why, when Trump was president, did they not flatten San Francisco? They could have. I mean, he was president for 4 years, and all they got were forest fires. All right? Which, according to Marjorie Greene, by the way, were caused by none other than
Jewish space lasers.
Although she didn't say that, technically she said, well, it was a beam of light originating from space solar generators that happened to be controlled by a cabal of corporations that included the Rothschild's banking firm. So, you can't say it's Jewish space lasers, except she did say Jewish space lasers. That wildfire, by the way, again, happened while Trump was president, and he had actually refused to approve disaster aid to the state. According to Mark Harvey, who was Trump's senior director for resiliency policy on the National Security Council staff, told E&E News that Trump didn't want to help California because it's a blue state. Oh. Now, the only thing that changed Donald Trump's mind...
What's more irritating than his voice? Trying to make fun and mocking this young lady here. Now, let's go up here, right? Let's do this here right quick. Let's see something. Now, this right here was 11 years ago. Let's see. We'll get to the one I want. This was 11 years ago. Controlling the weather, is it possible? Check this out.
Of New York professor. They were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion,
No.
though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all, because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku.
All right, that was 11 years ago. Now let's go down here. This is 3 years ago. This is a weather modification. Remember him said something concerning seeds. Seeding is a weather modification tech. How cloud seeding increase rainfall.
Let's check it out. Cloud seeding is the most common type of weather modification, and it has many different techniques and applications. Today, it's mostly used to increase rain and snowfall, reduce the size of hail, and reduce fog at airports.
Traditionally, cloud seeding has been done from the air. So airplanes have had racks on them where these same flares are positioned on the airplane, and the airplane flies into the storm. So in order to reduce the cost to the client and reduce our carbon footprint, we've been able to station these on the ground. Now, we can do this in places where weather permits.
Behind a barbed wire fence designed to keep away curious cattle, the cloud seeding gear awaits the right kind of weather.
So these are referred to as AHOGs. That stands for Automated High Output Ground Seeding Systems. We've got three primary components of our equipment here. The first is the control module that you see behind me. Then we have our actual cloud seeding flares. The cameras for security. It also helps us observe weather conditions in real time and make sure that all of the equipment is operating correctly during a storm. Inside these canisters are the flares with the seeding agents. The canisters are used as spark arresters, so they prevent sparks from reaching the ground. So we pull off the spark arrestor, you can see the flare inside. The ignition of the flares are controlled from the control module that's behind us. So the white triangle there is a cell service modem, and then the solar panel keeps us powered. Inside we have a battery and then a control board. So the control board interacts with the software. We're linked or synced with the software in Utah currently, and that allows us to fire or ignite any of the flares from that remote location.
Because of the lack of clouds and proper wind conditions, today is not a good day for cloud seeding at all. But Garrett and his team are going to light a flare for us anyway, so we can show you how it works. There's just one small problem. The battery in the control module died shortly before we arrived, but it's nothing a little jump start can't fix. After a little juice from Garrett's truck, it's time to set off the flare.
The primary seeding agent in this is silver iodide. Silver iodide is a simple compound. It's polar in nature like water, so there's chemical properties that help attract water molecules to silver iodide. It's also structured molecularly similar to ice. So it helps generate or helps spawn the generation of ice buildup, and then that becomes a hailstone or a snowflake that falls here primarily as rain. So one flare like this has billions and billions of potential sites for that water to congregate around. We'll launch them in sequences. We watch the radar to see when bands of the highest concentration of liquid water are passing above us in the clouds, and we try to target those high concentration pockets in the storm systems. We'll launch between 3 and 20 flares for a typical storm. Once the flare is lit, it takes a little bit of time to carry up into the clouds, and once it's up at the proper elevation, it'll take about 20 minutes to instigate the rain or the snow process. So overall, you're probably looking at about 40 to 45 minutes before you're seeing the maximum result. And that's why we're stationed miles away from our target area. So we have very specific targets that drain directly into major water basins, and we time these events to correlate with rain above those intended targets. One of the biggest questions or most common questions that we receive relates to the safety of silver iodide. Silver is biologically inert, so it will not interact in a negative fashion with plant or animal life. Iodine is actually a critical building block of a number of hormones in animals, so it is safe as well. In fact, if you look at table salt or baby formula, you'll see iodine in its molecular form as an additive in those commonly consumed substances.
But what about other potential adverse effects? Could cloud seeding affect communities outside the targeted areas?
Sometimes there is a concern about robbing Peter to pay Paul. So are we benefiting California at the expense of Nevada? And the truth is that storm systems, when they move over off the coastline, only about 10% of that moisture is going to fall in the form of precip. And we're looking at increasing that to about 11% because we have about a 10% increase in the natural storm's productivity. So going from 10% to 11% in California has an insignificant impact on the amount of precip that will still be available in Nevada or Utah.
Built into the program are kind of checks to make sure that we don't come across anything negative. When there are high-intensity storms, we won't seed. If the reservoirs are full, we won't seed. If the rivers are flowing a lot, maybe near flood capacity, we won't seed.
We hope that the conditions that exist right now will turn around and that we will not face the severity of droughts that we're facing, particularly this year. But a number of scientific articles are suggesting otherwise. And as we look into the future, we need to again consider conservation first. So the ability for us is to conserve how we use water and the ways that we store the water, and then layer on that efforts like weather modification and cloud seeding to help increase the rainfall that we do receive. It's very important that we take advantage of every opportunity we have to generate water in a sustainable way.
Anybody who's interested in learning more about cloud seeding, I've got links to scientific studies and official reports.
All right, man, cloud seeding. Now, one more, y'all. So lock it for the long. I know it's long, but I got to play my video. Let's one more. Let's go back down here. Now let's go here.
Dating back to the mid-20th century. In 1946, Vincent Schaefer, a chemist working for General Electric, conducted the first true cloud seeding experiment by aircraft.
The discovery that humans could really affect clouds was made by this American. Nearly 30 years ago, Vince Schaefer was in his laboratory.
30 years ago now. They had this here 30 years ago, and you think they haven't advanced since 30 years ago? You know, this is a small portion of what it is that they actually have. You know, that they're not going to actually show you on this YouTube. You know, but this information here is enough to do what it is, what they need to do. See, they let me get a precept in. I mean, this mainly concerns Feynman and Esau Edom creating the Feynman and all the things that you see around about you. You know the panicking and all that concerning the panic buying and planning excuse me, all of the distractions and things that are going on. Esau Edom is creating all these things, but he's doing it by using the people, and he's gonna turn right around and blame who? He's gonna blame the people for the conditions that they're in. The devil been doing this. You know, it's not hard. 2nd Ezra 15 and 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for what? For great tribulation. That's what's ahead for who? For everyone. Right? But in the end, who's gonna take what's the word I'm looking for? There's several things I was thinking about. I was thinking about Israel, and I was thinking about Esau Edom, you know, concerning end times. And 2nd Ezra 6. 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. I was thinking about that precept when I was anyway. 2nd Ezra 6, what is that? 6 and 9? 6 and 7. Yeah, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of times? Esau Edom know how to create a lot more than what most of you all think, and because the Heavenly Father has given him all of the wisdom, especially on the left hand side, concerning to use to confuse and trick you all. This is why he's able to trick the masses in the manner that he's able to trick them. To what? To make things appear that it's really not. So let's go. Let me get one more precept before I actually go there, because that video there pretty long, and it's gonna be I may pause it between it again, but you know, who knows? 2nd Ezra 16 and 18. Let's do that. 16 and 18. The beginnings of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great deaths. What happens in a storm? Great deaths. Huh? All the death. And who do Esau Edom needs to target first before he have to destroy what he's created? his own people, right? Because these are the ones that owns the bulk and the majority of the land. We don't, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives of this land, we don't own nothing. We don't own anything. The beginnings of sorrow and great moanings, the beginnings of famine and great death. Famine is coming. More deaths is coming. The beginnings of wars. Look what's going on in the Middle East. The war of armies, Armageddon. The beginnings of wars in the powers. Who has all the powers right now in the earth? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, shall stand in fear. But when they see Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, the chariots, which y'all ignorantly call UFOs, they're going to stand in fear, because the beginning of evils, right, meaning bad times and hell that you're going to go through. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Nothing. The elect is going to do anything. You're going to allow the Lord to do what it is to do, and not because what that is, Amos 3:6. Should there be evil in the city, and the Lord have not done it? Roughly paraphrased. Should there be evil? The Heavenly Father is creating these things. The Heavenly Father has what? Has Esau, Edom doing his will. So let's hear a little more of this.
In his laboratory making clouds. It was a hot day, so he grabbed some dry ice, frozen carbon dioxide, simply to help cool his freezer. But doing that transformed the cloud.
He dropped 6 pounds of crushed dry ice into a cloud in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. Almost immediately, snow began to fall.
There's a record of a pioneer experiment. First results were not spectacular, but they have definitely proved that rainmaking is a practical proposition, and it's one we shall hear more of in the future.
In later experiments, Schaefer and other GE colleagues would discover that certain types of particles are more effective at helping ice crystals form. Silver iodide, they found, is one of the best.
We have evidence now that hail and other severe storms can be modified. I think the time is rapidly approaching when we will be able to no longer depend on the vagaries of the weather, but perhaps can do something about it.
Huh? You hear that? Perhaps can do something about it. And you think those were the 60s. We're in 2024. You think these devils can't control the weather? Huh? You think they cannot control the weather? Behold, famine and plague, they're creating all the famine. All of the wickedness that you see. Did it? All this crap. And then what? You got a so-called white woman here, what her name is, Marjorie Green. They mocking her, saying she's crazy. That Esau Edom can't do this here. And when you got the video, you got video right here, explaining and giving you great detail concerning how to modify and do these things to change weather. So that's the 60s. And we're in 2024. You think this devil ain't controlling the weather? Don't know how to control the weather? How can he tell you, well, we got 15 new storms. We're going to have 15 new storms this year. He ain't the Most High. We're going to have 15 new storms in the Gulf going to be this year. How the hell can he do that? Playing God. You know, Esau even think he God. Behold, famine and plagues and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for an amendment, an improvement, a betterment of what, man? Of the earth. Because Esau Edom got to go. He got to go. And you all wicked joker got to be punished in the process. You're gonna go through all sorts of hell. Who gonna, by the hand of who? Esau Edom, the so-called white man. He's gonna destroy the very thing that he has created. What you see with this beast system. Because he's trying to what? He's trying to establish another what? Beast system, which is the NWO, the New World Order, which is going to be implemented for what? For that sea hip to be placed in your hand. Revelation 13, 16 through 17, right? Let's hear a little more.
It may be easier to control the weather than to forecast it.
Obviously, cloud seeding is a useful tool in the fight against drought. There are already instances where it has been put to good use in this context. Facing the daunting UN prediction of water scarcity for 14% of the world's population by 2025, the UAE proactively launched the UAE Research Program for Rains Enhancement Science in 1990. This initiative employs evolving technologies, including cloud seeding, to address the country's increasing water needs amidst this limited annual rainfall.
Some of these clouds, by nature, sometimes it rains, for example, only 40 to 50% of its rain that processed in the cloud that comes as rainfall. So by these operations, we try to increase this amount by, for example, from 15 to 30%.
Over the years, the project's effectiveness is noteworthy. For instance, in 2022 alone, 311 cloud seeding missions resulted in nearly 1,000 flying hours. This consistent progress underscores the importance and benefits of artificial rain in water-scarce regions like the UAE. While cloud seeding technology holds immense potential, it is important to acknowledge the existing challenges and concerns associated with its implementation. Cloud seeding does not guarantee precise control over the resulting weather patterns, making it challenging to determine its long-term effects accurately. The use of silver iodide, for instance, raises questions about its impact on ecosystems and human health if released in large quantities. To address these concerns, scientists are actively researching alternative, non-hazardous materials for use in cloud seeding technology. Edward Graham, a meteorologist at the University of the Highlands and Islands, UK, explains that simpler methods like salt flares have already been employed in places like the UAE.
In terms of the effect on the environment, cloud seeding nowadays, at least in the UAE, just uses salt flares, and that's what you get in table salt on your kitchen table. So there's no actual harm to the environment. Traditionally, chemicals such as silver iodide, which mimics the crystal structure of ice, have been used, but they're not used in the UAE today. In terms of carbon footprint, the planes that fly up into the clouds are just small planes, and when compared to the billions of cars on the planet and the huge planes doing it.
Man, it's old, man. It's very old. Even before I was born, I was born in these times right here. Right, I was a child then, but these are the things that that Esau Edom have been able to control long ago, and really, you truly think that he's not controlling any portions of the weather and creating things. Now, he can't control it and manipulate it in the way that he wants to, right? But if he create enough, stir up enough stuff in like you say 15, 20 more, they predicting there'll be 15 more this year. How can he do that if he's not playing the Most High himself? This is Ecclesiasticus 40:9. Death and bloodshed, strife, and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation. He's going to create that famine. He's going to create that hell. And the scourges, because he's going to punish a whole lot of people. Just as he's doing with this manipulating you all's minds and thinking that he can save you. So he was one of the best that ever did it, man, in manipulating. excuse me, and manipulating people to do what it is that he wants them to do. Huh? Create the hell and then he come in as being the savior. That's what he do. He been doing this here. He hadn't started doing this. He been doing this here. These are the things that they learned from their forefathers, which is most of them are their forefathers. What coming back for them that you have what understanding of that what of reincarnation. These things, verse 10. These things are created for wicked, for the wicked. Meaning you wicked Israelites, which is you 2/3. And you heathens that are here on earth, outside of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives of this land. These things are created for wicked, and for their sake came the flood. Ecclesiastes 41:3. Fear not the sentence of death. Remember them that have been before thee, and that come after, for this is the sentence of the Lord over all flesh. You're gonna get it. It's just a matter of time before it actually takes a full toll. Those angels holding back the winds, meaning the destruction of the earth, to take a full magnitude for the famine and the hell to increase to where there's where survival is very short lived in America. Real soon, those things will happen, and they're gonna come. That's Jacob's trouble. Let's hear a little more. I'm gonna hear the few precepts, then I'm gonna close it out.
Huge planes doing international air travel every day. It's just a drop in the ocean in terms of carbon footprint and carbon emissions.
Furthermore, cloud seeding's potential to disrupt natural precipitation patterns poses risks to neighboring regions and ecosystems. Altering rainfall distribution can have cascading effects on water availability, agricultural systems, and biodiversity. Disruptions in the natural water cycle may exacerbate water scarcity in certain areas, while causing excessive rainfall and flooding in others. However, what is typically seen as a challenge in one context can become an opportunity in another.
Back in July, the Chinese Communist Party marked its centenary with a ceremony attended by tens of thousands of people on Tiananmen Square. Now, a report has just been released by Beijing's Tsinghua University, revealing that the government artificially changed the weather for that event.
This dichotomy was not lost on military strategists. The strategic potential of weather manipulation, a concept that may sound like science fiction, began to take form. A seminal venture into this uncharted territory was a collaboration between the US Department of Defense and General Electric. The endeavor, known as Project Popeye. Conducted during the Vietnam War, the project's goal was to flood enemy supply routes by modulating rainfall patterns. This bold paradigm shift in warfare tactics served as the cornerstone for subsequent developments in the militarization of weather manipulation.
In China, they're waging war on the weather. A drought so severe, they're firing rockets into the sky to make it rain.
China has taken weather manipulation to new heights, surpassing other nations in its ambitious pursuit. Already capable of artificially manipulating the weather over its major cities, China's aspirations reach even further. By 2025, it aims to extend its reach to modify the weather over half of its vast territory, a prospect that has raised concerns among neighboring countries, particularly India. China's weather manipulation capabilities also hold significant
weather manipulation capabilities. It's not just rain, man. It's not just rain. But everybody don't use it in the same manner as Esau eating the devil, man. The devil likes what? He likes destruction. Because when he's tan S up, what's going on? He get rich. As y'all lose things and get poor, he gets richer. This is what we're heading in. The rich is getting richer, And the poor is getting poor.
Significant potential as a military strategy. With military involvement and a vast workforce, China has developed aircraft and anti-aircraft guns to manipulate cloud formations and precipitation. By artificially altering rainy conditions in border regions, a nation can impede enemy troop movements and logistics operations, effectively slowing down adversary forces. This real-time tactical advantage can be invaluable in military conflicts. The ability to control the weather, even on a localized scale, provides a unique element of power projection and can shape the outcome of military engagements. By altering rainfall and monsoon cycles, China's activities may disrupt agricultural productivity in countries such as India, Myanmar, and Vietnam. This raises the specter of rain stealing and strains regional relationships, highlighting the geopolitical implications of weather manipulation as a tool of power. Addressing the challenges posed by weather manipulation requires international cooperation and effective regulatory frameworks. Collaborative efforts among governments, scientific communities, and international organizations are crucial to ensure responsible and accountable use of weather manipulation technologies. As we witness in China's mastery of weather manipulation techniques and its grandiose weather modification program, the gravity of its geostrategic implications becomes apparent. The ability to shape regional weather patterns and potentially utilize weather manipulation for military purposes presents a formidable tool of influence.
For military purposes.
Yet, as we stand at the precipice of this extraordinary power, we must confront a profound question. Is humankind truly ready to wield the awesome and dramatic power to control the weather?
As satellites take their place alongside computers as powerful scientific tools, the meteorology of the 1970s can deal quite well with large-scale weather systems that develop over a few days. But the weather machine operates on many different timescales, from thousands of years for making or melting great ice sheets to the fleeting lives of individual clouds.
There you have it. Huh? There you have it, y'all. You still think Esau, even the so-called white man, is not able to manipulate the weather in the manner that he wants to manipulate the weather? You still think that? This is Ecclesiasticus 39 and 28. Just as the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, has spirits that are created for vengeance, Esau Edom has technologies that he creates for what? For death and destruction. There be spirits that are created for what? Vengeance, which in their fury lay on sword strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. That's right. They're pacifying the Lord for what? By putting what? All you wicked jokers to death. Fire and hell and famine and death, all these were created for what? For vengeance. All of them was created for vengeance. So that number said, call Allah Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, we call Qudash, Shalom.